I'm just going to zero in on one verse from the gospel. Matthew, after being called by Jesus, and being told to follow him, left everything behind and got up and began to follow him. Left everything. Levi was, think Bureau of Customs official or BIR official, raking it in and having houses here and there and big cars and fat bank accounts. Think a person like that, leaving everything and following Jesus. Not going to be popular in the beginning, but this is the example given to us. Jesus' very example. The term kenosis, meaning an emptying of himself. Jesus, the Lord of heaven and earth, owner of all things, the inheritor of all the earth from the Father, left everything, left the joy and the bliss and the glory of his Father's side, and put on himself flesh. And from there's no turning back. Okay? Do you realize that? Jesus Christ, definition of Jesus Christ will forever be God-man. God-man. He cannot shed off his flesh anymore. From the point he obeyed the will of the Father, he cannot be just God. He's God-man forever. He left his Father and he clung to man. And he was wedded to us. No turning back. Psalm 101 says, I hate the work of those who fall away. It shall not fasten its grip on me. The Israelites, they weren't totally, their heart was not totally given after God when they left Egypt. They kept turning back. They kept looking over their shoulder. They kept saying, oh, we miss the leeks of Egypt. We miss the pots by which we were sitting. Really, they were slaves when they left, right? I mean, they probably were sitting on straw that were needed to be converted to bricks. But there really wasn't anything to turn back to. If you come right down to it. Lot's wife, remember. Look back and, we all know what happened to her. And I would confess, it's probably you feel too, it's a strong temptation to look back. We staff can probably say, like Peter did, Lord, we left careers, we left this and that. He said we left houses and mothers and fathers. We haven't come to that point, right? But we did leave something, and we gave up something. And sometimes there's strong temptations, especially, I'd confess this, especially when you attend reunions of your high school reunions and all that, and you see your classmates driving sports cars and talking about their businesses and talking about their successes. And then here you are serving God. For what? For something that is greater, which we're not necessarily after. We're after serving God. And it's strong temptation. And especially when you're not encouraged, when you're unappreciated and you're even being persecuted. And there's a strong temptation to just, to invoke imprecations on them instead of blessing, right? This one song I remember from long ago, saying, in my life, why do I, Gary knows this, I'm sure. In my life, why do I smile at people who I'd much rather kick in the eye? Imprecations, but that's what you heard from of old. Now I say to you, bless those who curse you. Pray for those who persecute you. But it has to be 100% all heart, all mind, all soul following of Jesus. We leave everything behind, like Levi, like Matthew did. Matthew, Levi. That's why we're baptized. That's the meaning of baptism. We leave underwater to die, to drown our old self. And we leave that underwater again to die. Never to rise again. So that when we rise up, we're a new creature. A new creature that 100% gives their life in following God and Jesus. You do not combine the old cloth, piece of, even just a piece of unshrunk cloth with the new, because it will destroy the garment or the fabric. Cannot do that, Jesus says. It has to be new. Don't put new wine into old wineskins. You will burst it. You will destroy it. Jesus is speaking to us. We cannot hold on to what we have left behind. We need to discard them. Otherwise, it will destroy us. And, like I mentioned earlier, Jesus leaving behind the glory of the presence of the Father and all of His inheritance and all of His glory. For what? For the sake of whom? For the sake of enemies? For the sake of sinners? For the sake of offenders? For the sake of persecutors? For the sake of people whom He knew would put Him to death? This is the Lord that tells us, follow me. Do the exact same thing I did. Even if in return for your love, they repay you, they act as your persecutors. And even if they repay you evil for good. Exactly what Jesus did. He blessed them. He told the Father to forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. Interesting, yesterday, I think we don't realize it, but we've been doing a good job with the next generation and in teaching them. I asked my students yesterday, 2 classes, why they are believers of God, why they're followers of Jesus, why they're disciples, why they're Christians. Nobody said, because I want to go to heaven. Nobody said, because I want the reward of eternal life. Nobody said, because I don't want to go to hell. Nobody said that. The closest thing, which is still a precious, precious answer, was because there is joy in doing so. And I ended up reminding them of the real reason, at least one of the good reasons why. And it's the theme for this month, I think it is. Main reason is, I gave them a clue, what I've been saying the past few offertories on Sunday. The reason we're giving is because God's nature is in us. We're givers. We've been made in the image of God. We are like Him. That's the theme for this month, I think, right? For the students, for the school. That's the reason we give, because we're givers. Reason we love is because God's love is in us. That's our nature. That's why we give. Not primarily because of the need. Not primarily because church pays the bills. Not primarily because there are sick people, there are poor people that need our help. That's the secondary reason. I'm not saying it's less important. What I'm saying is, reason we give is because we're givers. Reason we love is because we're lovers. Reason we do what we do is because God's nature is in us. We've been created in His image. We are like Him. like him, finding joy set before us. What is that joy? Loving the unlovable, blessing the unappreciated, and forgiving those who offend us. You may have heard from of old, call God's anger and wrath upon them. Now, Jesus says to us, follow me. Bless, let them curse, but you bless. Because that's the way it is in the kingdom of our God.